Hopefully network cooperates with you and me, and we'll have a great meeting. Without wasting further time, I will like to call on the role players for today's meeting. I'll let them introduce themselves and what exactly they're going to do today. We've already heard from the Sergeant at Arms. The next role player would be the Grammarian Toastmaster Fumi. Toastmaster Fumi, please confirm you are on, and please tell us what your function is today.
Good afternoon, Toastmasters and guests. My name is Toastmaster Fumi, and I'm your grammarian for the day. Please confirm you can hear me.
Perfectly.
All right, so I'd like you to see me as well. Can you see me?
Well, I'm sharing, so I can't see, but
yes,
others can confirm.
Oh, okay. All right, fantastic. Okay, so I'm the grammarian for the day, and it's a twofold ministry for me. I'm going to be introducing the word for the day, which the president has so beautifully done. And I'm also going to be checking your proper use of language, and I'm going to be scoring you for that. So the word of today is indelible. Can you please unmute? Let me hear everybody pronounce it.
Indelible.
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 All right, so 50% for everyone.
We have Craig. We have Toastmaster Craig. We have Toastmaster Craig on the call. So be careful.
He's on the call, right? Exactly. Be careful. I was going to wield the big stick today. I didn't know that he was here with us because I was in that presentation last week. All right, so that's the word of the day, and what it means is to make marks that can't be removed, or to make a lasting impression. So for instance, you can say that tribal marks are an indelible symbol of identification, that kind of thing. And then maybe food is an indelible part of the Yoruba culture, So you're going to be able to, I'll be scoring you on your use of the word indelible, incorporating it into your communication as we go on in today's meeting. And yeah, that's about it. It's a twofold ministry. So I'm handing over to Toastmaster of the day now. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Toastmaster Fumi. That was perfectly said and understood. Thank you. The next person would be the accountant, Toastmaster Nnamdi. Please unmute and tell us what your role is today.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. My name is Nnamdi. So I'll be your accountant for today. I will be counting the post fillers in order to determine who's got the highest post fillers. The intent is to discourage the use of post fillers when delivering our speeches. I will also be taking the who said what. This is to test your listening skills during the course of the program. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Nnamdi. We better watch out for those post fillers. I think I've mentioned one or two myself as well. We are here to learn. The next person will be Toastmaster Joy, who will be our timer and our table topics evaluator. She also has a twofold ministry, if I may borrow Toastmaster Fumi's words. Toastmaster Joy, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Toastmaster Tari, very beautiful Toastmaster of the day. My name is Toastmaster Joy, and today I will be taking up two roles, double hatting. First role will be the table topics evaluator. My job as a table topics evaluator is to listen to everyone's table topics and provide an oral evaluation on the speakers. I'll also be doing it in the sandwich method, comment, recommend, and commend. The aim of this is to help us become better at impromptu speaking. I'll try as much as possible to give a very neutral, positive, and constructive feedback as much as I can. Next role is the timer of the day. I'll be timing every speech and evaluation and reports. The timing for icebreaker speeches are 4 to 6 minutes, basic manual 5 to 7 minutes, table topics 2 minutes, evaluations 3 minutes, reports 2 minutes. I will be writing in the chat box, please. This is deliberate. I chose to do this instead of using the timer cards because I want to encourage people to look at the chat box more often and also use it more often. So when you're gotten to your accurate time, when you're at optimal time, I will write green in the chat box. When you're midway, I will type yellow. And when you have gotten to the end of your time, I'll type red. 30 seconds after that, after the red goes up, then whatever it is that you're doing has overshot the time. If it's a speech, it will be disqualified. I'm hoping that none of that will happen today. Okay, back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Joy, for accepting to do this dual role. So if you're just joining us for the first time, the table topics are actually a time where you get to make an impromptu speech that should last between a minute 30 seconds and 2 minutes 30 seconds. So that's just what it is. And before Toastmaster Joy evaluates, there is somebody who is supposed to actually be the table topics master who will dish out the questions you're supposed to answer. And that person for today will be Toastmaster Peace. So Toastmaster Peace, please unmute and expatiate on your role for the day.
Thank you very much, Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the day. As the table topic master, I will be giving impromptu speeches and expect you to think on your feet. So this actually helps improve impromptu speaking skills and also build confidence. I'm sure you've seen videos where people randomly give mic to people and say, tell me about this or tell me about that. So that's basically what table topic is about. It's quite indelible. Thank you. Over to you, Toastmaster today.
Thank you, Toastmaster Peace. I like the ring or sing-song tone to you. Thank you. And last but not least would be our general evaluator, not a rookie, not an amateur. She's the immediate past president of Pecten Toastmasters Club, and that would be Toastmaster Folu. Toastmaster Folu, please unmute and tell us your role as general evaluator.
All right, so please confirm I am audible.
Very audible.
Great, thank you so much. Good evening, Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Good to be here. I would be your general evaluator for today. And what this means is I will be evaluating everything and anything about the meeting, all the various elements of the meeting. I would listen attentively and take notes. I would look out for good examples of delivery, performance of duty, organization, preparation, and so on. And I will be giving my report at the very end of the meeting. Looking forward to a great time here. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Folu, for agreeing to do this. We appreciate you. So it's about 4:30 p.m. now. We'll go straight to the table topics. Now, it's not the usual meeting today. Today, we don't have a manual speech, so to speak. We have a panel session on self-leadership. But before that, we will go ahead with the table topics. I mean, this is a regular part of our meetings all the time. And like I said before, it's a time where you can be called upon to give an impromptu speech in 2 minutes on average. And at the end of the meeting, you will receive an evaluation about how well you did, what you could have done better. So I'm going to hand over right now to Toastmaster Peace, who is the table topics master for today, and she will take it on from here. Toastmaster Peace, I think we have about 10 minutes for this session. So I'm thinking approximately 4 or 5 people would do. So over to you, Toastmaster Peace. Please feel free to use the chat box. Like I said before, this is a meeting, though online, we should be really everyone should participate. Use emoticons, smileys, emojis, whatever you call it. If you hear something interesting, you can put it in the chat box. If you want to applaud, you can use the applause emoticon, applause sign, or whatever it's called, icon on your Zoom app. And then let's have a vibrant meeting today. And let's hope that this meeting remains indelible in our minds. Back to you, Toastmaster Peace.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Tari. So today we're actually going to have a mix-up in this session. So please, who are our volunteers, since we have 5 people? I need 1 volunteer, or I'll go through the list and assign 1 person, or anybody I like. Anybody? I'm going through the list. Toastmaster Bridget. Toastmaster Bridget, please signify if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. Toastmaster Bridget, is this your first time in this meeting?
No. Off
Okay,
on,
thank you very much.
depending on the way my multitasking allows me.
Most importantly, it's not your first time. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen this movie? I can't believe the movie just came to my mind. Acrimony.
No.
You haven't seen Acrimony. Okay. Have you seen this popular Nigerian movie that has a lot of veteran actors? Ukwa.
I have.
Good. Can you remember the scene where Susanna came out to meet Ukwa when he was doing laundry? And she asked him to go to the market to buy some things for her to cook. And then he said, if he has to go to the market, she has to do the laundry. So my question to you is, what is your take? Whose side are you on? Do you think what Susanna did was right? Or do you think what Ukwa did was right? Or do you think that they were both wrong? In 2 minutes, give us your side of the story. Thank you.
Neither Ukwa nor Susanna were right, because particularly for me, it was not the assignment or the messaging or the request from either of them that was the wrong thing, but the way and manner they went about it. There was no mannerism. They were both rude to themselves. Susanna came and just like that, trying to order him around. For crying out loud, every human being is entitled to respect. And particularly so as we are Africans. The men expect some measure of respect from the women. Susanna didn't do that. And Ukwa, on his own part, again, displayed the characteristics of an unpolished man. Yes, the woman was wrong, but he would have corrected the woman, if he were a polished man, would have corrected the woman in a very polite and more polished way. My dear, this thing you're about to say, you could have said it in this manner. Why do you talk like this? And stuff like that. So in my opinion, they were both wrong. Not the messaging thing, because anybody can ask somebody to do a task or help out, but the way, the rudeness in their tune. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bridget. I think I actually go with you. Their lack of mannerism was quite indelible. So that was really insightful. Thank you very much. So who's our next volunteer? I'm going through the list. Okay. Do we have a volunteer? Oh, that was an error. Okay. Chidozie Okeje. Hi, Chidozie. Toastmaster Chidozie. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, please signify by raising your hand on the app. Toastmaster Chidozie. Okay, moving on. Toastmaster Chooks. Wamboeze. Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can, Toastmaster.
Can hear you. We can.
Yes, we can.
Toastmaster Chooks, please, are you on this call?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, Toastmaster Chooks. How many children do you have?
I have 3, Toastmaster.
You have 3 children. So, in the times of our parents, when I say our parents, I don't know how old you are, but in the times of my parents and the parents from my parents, having so many children was a norm. In fact, it was, in some cultures, it was a signal of wealth. But these days, the other side is the story. What is your own personal take? Do you think you want to have more children? What do you think having more children is to you? Are you fine with the number of children you have now? Do you think that the society has a role to play in the number of children that different generations have from time to time? In 2 minutes, give us your take.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Toastmaster. Hello, Toastmasters and guests. Good day and greetings to everyone. There are a million questions wrapped up in our wonderful table topic, Masters submission or questions. First of all, I'll answer some of them categorically. Do I don't have any more children? Nope. Nope. That is no in capital letters with 3 exclamation marks. So no, 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 no. Do I think that society has an influence in terms of the number of children the families have? Absolutely. And that is why society must drive us out of the current predicaments that we find ourselves rather in Nigeria today. We have arguably the youngest population in the world. It's ridiculous the percentage of our population that is below 21 years of age, somewhere around half of our population, according to the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. And that is an incredible number and growing. Now, population is a great thing to have. Population is a strength to have. But we all know that strengths can become weaknesses when they are not growing in tandem with other elements of our society. Our economy is not growing at the same rate as our population is growing, and that presents a big problem to everyone, not just to those of us who feel we have the number of kids that we can care for, but to that child. That child we refer to as Alimajiri on the streets of Kano, who has no food to eat, who doesn't know where the next meal is coming from, and would have to trot the streets night and day to find 20 naira to buy the next masa and sugar and furat or even pure water to have. That child presents a danger to us. And that's why I am of the opinion, and I say yes, society plays a strong role, and we all must be that society that plays a strong role in how Nigeria's population evolves from where we find ourselves today. Thank you very much. And back to you, table topics.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster. That was very, very educating and enlightening. Please, can we have a round of applause for Toastmaster Truth and also for Toastmaster Bridget? A round of applause. Please unmute your mic and clap. Okay, so who is our next volunteer? I am going through the lists. Toastmaster Sylvester. Toastmaster Sylvester, can you hear me? I don't think Toastmaster Sylvester heard me. Toastmaster Sylvester, if you can hear me, please signify by raising your hand. So I think Toastmaster Sylvester said I need to. Okay, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, Toastmaster Sylvester, I think you're experiencing a network error, so I'll have to pick someone else.
Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, but you're breaking.
Hello,
okay,
good evening, everybody in the house.
Let's try. Yes, let's try.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Toastmaster Sylvester, yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Are you married?
Yes, good evening. I can. No.
Oh,
I am not.
Okay. Have you seen the movie Acrimony?
What I've seen the movie Acrimony.
Yes.
I have not.
Okay, so what is your favorite time of the year? Do you have a favorite time of the year? Do you have a favorite time of the year?
What?
Time of the year.
Time of the year.
Yeah.
Yes, I think my favorite time of this year is about this time, this festive season.
So tell us about your favorite time and why it is your favorite time of the year. Over to you, Toastmaster Sylvester.
Okay, once again, good evening to everybody in the house. My name is Sylvester Ekbo. Happy to be with us. Like I did mention, my favorite time of the year is about this time. Considering the fact that from the beginning of the year, we had a whole lot of plan and we followed the plan the way we planned it. We've been running up and down to ensure that we meet up with the plan. And about that time, everybody may have traveled to different points of their endeavor where they work to make ends meet or to achieve every other thing. Then towards the ending of the year, you notice that a whole lot of activities will start reducing, and it will even avail us the opportunity of traveling back to our natural environment, where we will see a lot of food that we may have not been able to see throughout the year, and it will even equally avail of the opportunity of meeting people too that may have traveled out of the place, and they will come back. And there's one unique characteristics of this season. A lot of things that we may have acquired, money and whatever, a reasonable percentage of that amount of money will be spent this time, because if you notice very well, there's festivities in the air. There's a joy, there's happiness, there's that celebration. A lot of activities is going on. So you spend that money. You spend that money because there's reason for that money to be spent. You have people, you have so many activities. And one thing about me is that I like being with people. In fact, my best moment is when I interact with people. To an extent, that is the more reason why I have decided to identify with this group, so that it will avail me the opportunity, the platform for me to interact with people, for me to share, because I think that I have a lot to tell people. So because of all this, I think that this is about my best season, the best period of the year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Sylvester. Please, a round of applause for Toastmaster Sylvester. Your speech is quite an indelible one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We need 2 participants more.
I think we can do just one more, just masterpiece, just one more, please.
Okay, one more. Please, can we have one, at least one person to try and volunteer now? Say something.
Okay, I'll volunteer.
I'm hearing somebody say something. Toastmaster Valentine, do you want to volunteer?
Yes,
ma'am. I can't hear your voice. See volunteers. Oh, wow. But I cannot hear.
I don't know if any other person can hear me clear.
Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you perfectly, Toastmaster Peace. I think just pick one person so that we don't waste too much time.
Okay, so Toastmaster Valentine, we cannot hear you. Okay, Toastmaster Osinachi, I think you also volunteered. Can we hear from you if you are volunteering? Toastmaster Osinachi alum.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. So
did you see this movie? Is this your first time?
No, it's not. It's not. I join every now and then, but it's not my first time. But I haven't seen Acrimony either, so I wanted to volunteer, but I'm like, I wouldn't even know what I'm volunteering for, and yeah. So
Okay,
if you just
let me give you an insight of what's going on.
Yeah.
So so the table is speech that you have no idea about, or you can repeat and then speak for 2 minutes, maximum 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Do you understand?
I speak for 2 minutes, 30 seconds, but the other part I didn't hear you well.
Oh, okay. I said it's a speech that you have no idea about.
Okay.
It's impromptu. It's like, I'm asking for something and you had no idea. Okay?
Okay.
So you have not seen Acrimony. Is there any other? Okay. Let me ask you this one. Do you have something that you would love to learn to do that you have, let's say you don't have the time, or you've not really seen yourself in that spot learning?
Yes. I'm losing. If I have something I want to learn or haven't had the time to learn it, is that your question?
Yes. Tell us about it.
Oh, okay. That's fine. What I would love to learn and haven't had the time to do that is how to make very good braids. I weave okay, but I'm sure most females or even males that have an idea of hairdos that women do, the ones that come out really good are the ones that have a bit of attachments to it, and they tend to last longer. I've always wanted to learn how to do it, but somehow I haven't had the time to do it. Or maybe I haven't created time to do it. But then challenging myself before this year runs out, that somehow, even if it's patchy, I'm going to learn it. And what am I doing about it? I've subjected my poor daughter to becoming my lab rat muse and all of that. And so she would just have to bear with mommy for as long as my training will go. And the other idea would be to maybe get a mannequin. I haven't gotten around doing that, go to the market and all of that. I've also tried that option, but like I said, I have, put a timeline to it. It has to be done this year, and I'm getting to it. So it's braiding with attachments for me, extensions. Yes. Thank you. Dr.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Osi. That was interesting. I wouldn't say that's indelible, quite interesting. Thank you, everyone that volunteered or participated in today's table topics. I hope to work with you next time. I am the table topics master again. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Toastmaster. Please put your hands together. Use your icon, unmute if you will. Thank you very much for that interesting table topic session. Sounded like an interview panel of some sorts, and interesting answers we got there. And thank you to all the people who were called out to actually speak, except Osinachi who volunteered. Thank you very much. We are about 8 minutes or so to 5, and we'll go straight into the panel session. Now, the panel session is going to be anchored by Toastmaster Uche, but he will be evaluated by none other than the founder of Pecten Toastmasters, Toastmaster Intia. Toastmaster Intia, please, are you on the call?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. You're okay. Panel evaluator. Great. Glad to have you, sir. So I'm going to hand over this session to you to introduce the session and then hand over to Toastmaster Uche, who will constitute his panel, and then we'll hit the road running. Over to you, Toastmaster Intia.
Thank you very much. Confirm you can hear me loud and clear, please, sorry.
Perfectly.
Right. Now, the thing about this is that what we're about to witness is almost something that's literally at the pinnacle of a public speaker's sort of journey, if you like. One of the things that I usually am particularly excited about what we're about to go through today is when, as a moderator of a panel session, you are really at the point where working through others, you are able to communicate remarkably and clearly and succinctly a clear message to an audience. And frankly, only the really top level of speakers get to do things like this. As a matter of fact, in the Toastmasters genre, the accredited speakers are the ones who officially are recommended by Toastmasters to go around the world, becoming panel moderators all around the place. So this is a snippet, if you like, of that level of competence as a public speaker. So what the task is before Toastmaster Uche today is to use this panel session and through the panelists, everything from the preparation for the panel session, the choice of topic, the way he set it up nicely, chosen panelists, and going through them to communicate a message to the audience is going to be evaluated. And the thing about this is that it's really about working to communicate through people. As we very all know that there is an illusion of communication that just because you have said it, people have gotten it. In this session, it's not about saying it, it's to ensure that it's said in a way that people then go on and get it. The purpose of this particular task is to apply that skill as a public speaker to facilitate a panel discussion. And one of the key things from the evaluator is that we want to see the organization, we want to see the dedication and the time that he's put in panel session. We also want to see the rich sort of array of panelists he's put together that would enhance that communication. It has to be organized, well moderated, and someone that actually keeps both the audience and the panelists very, very involved and in an interactive manner. It should run, I think, if I'm correct, over through for the next 40 minutes, and at the end of that, we'll come back and give us an evaluation of the session, as it were. On that note, I'm going to say that Toastmaster Uche, you have that floor. We will be watching and seeing how you take on panel session, and I now yield the floor back to you, Toastmaster of the day, to go on and introduce the speaker for today.
Okay, thank you very much, Toastmaster Intia. We will start the panel session now. So Toastmaster Uche, over to you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster of the day and panel evaluator. Greetings, Toastmasters and guests, and welcome to this segment of the Toastmasters Club meeting. Today, just like my evaluator has said, we'll be spending about 30 to 40 minutes of our time reflecting on a contemporary topic that many people have a keen interest about, and this is leadership. But this time, we will hone in or be talking about a specific part, a seemingly obscure part of leadership or leadership called self-leadership. Israel Ayivo, a Nigerian writer, has said that you can't lead people if you can't lead yourself. In our quest to be good leaders, we often forget that the journey begins with self. Increasingly, organizations and groups are moving away from a command and control type leadership to one that empowers people and trusts them to get on with work in a flexible manner. This requires people to garner skills, especially self-leadership, to remain relevant. The post-pandemic world needs more self-leaders, and I'm sure you can agree with me. Today, we have invited 3 leaders, Toastmaster Chuks Mabweze, Tari Adebisi, and Tosin Olorele, to share their insights and give us nuggets that can enable us or help us build self-leadership. I'll then go ahead to introduce our panelists. Toastmaster Chuks Wabeze is an energy professional with a strong passion for strategy, communication, and leadership. He loves music, books, and football. He's a certified innovative planner who enjoys bringing great ideas to life. He joined Toastmasters 5 years ago and has served in various leadership roles, including vice president membership, vice president education, club president, and area club growth director. He currently serves as the director of Area 23. Toastmasters and guests, please welcome Toastmaster Chuks Nwabweze. Our second panelist, Toastmaster Tari Adebisi, is an occupational health physician and consultant family physician. You get two in one person. She is the current Vice President Education of Pecten Toastmasters. She's passionate about continuous improvement, and that's one of the reasons why she joined Toastmasters International. Some activities she enjoys are reading, traveling, and spending time with family. Our final panelist is Toastmaster Tosin Olorunleke. He is a procurement engineer and currently the Vice President Education at Oil City Speakers Club. And he's the Vice President Public Relations at Universal Entrepreneur, Toastmasters. He's a podcaster and co-host of the Obani Show. His hobbies are podcasting, as expected, watching football, TV, and also traveling around the world. Toastmaster Tosin identifies with this quote: whether you think you can or can't, you're probably right. And that's by Henry Ford. Toastmaster Chuks, Tari, and Tosin, you're welcome to this panel, and I urge you to please put your hands together as they take the virtual floor. Now, just like my panel evaluator has said, this session will run for 40 minutes, and you can follow the conversation on the chat box, or you can raise your hands and you'll be called upon to ask your question or make a comment. You can also use emojis, icons on the Zoom platform to encourage the panelists. And it's important that you go on mute unless you are a panelist, so that we have a smooth sail today. We will take a short break, and when we come back, we will go neck deep into the oceans of self-leadership.
Welcome to Toastmasters International. Toastmasters holds the keys to becoming a confident speaker and leader. With over 350,000 members and through its proven self-paced program, people from around the globe have gained the tools for effective communication and leadership. In Toastmasters, you'll also benefit from honest and supportive feedback from your peers. For a list of clubs in your area, visit our website at www.toastmasters.org.
Welcome back, Toastmasters and guests. And that was just a short break to tell you just a little bit about Toastmasters. And if you have the chance or the time before the end of this session, you would see a link in the chat box. And if you just click on it, you'll be able to join the Pecten Toastmasters WhatsApp group, where you can get all the information and have access to many of the panelists that you see today. We will then dive neck deep into the oceans of self-leadership, like I said earlier today. And I would like to take turns. I'll be taking turns across the panelists today for them to tell us or give us, some things in their heart or in their mind about questions that I'll be asking. I would like to start, by asking this question, Toastmasters, and I would like to start with Toastmaster Chuks. People have heard about leadership, and I don't think leadership is a new concept to a lot of people here on the call. And if you look through, you see many people are leaders in their own rights. But a lot of people haven't, little is known about self-leadership. A lot isn't said about it. So I'd like to hear from you, Toastmaster Chooks. What does self-leadership mean to you?
Hi, Toastmaster. Okay. I want to believe you addressed me because I heard my name as I joined back the meeting back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll just give
Bumped
you a
off for a
moment.
few seconds. Yeah.
All right. So I'll give you a moment to just catch your breath, and I'll just,
Okay.
just sway this to the beautiful lady in the room, Toastmaster Tari. I just talked about, leadership as being a very popular topic and conversation that people have, but little is said about self-leadership. So I'd like to hear from you to know, what does self-leadership mean to you? What does it mean to you?
Okay, thank you, Toastmaster Uche. I think the term self-leadership is already self-explanatory in a way. Self-leadership, leading yourself. And indeed, what is leading yourself? It's actually being intentional about influencing the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you express yourself, or the action to give out. Being intentional about that to meet your objectives. That's what self-leadership is. Another term you can use in place of self-leadership will probably be personal mastery. Mastering yourself, mastering who you are. And of course, mastering is when you have, say, superiority or control over a particular thing or a particular object or a particular subject matter. So if I would say, in summary, what is self-leadership? Self-leadership is actually mastering yourself in order to know what to do and what not to do to achieve the goals you seek to achieve. Understanding yourself to that extent, that's basically what self-leadership is to me.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Tari. Personal mastery, understanding yourself, and not just all of this, having in mind that you have to achieve the goals that you have set. Thank you so much for bringing that to light. Now I'll move over to Toastmaster Tosin. What does self-leadership mean to you? Just taking on from what Toastmaster Tari has said.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Uche, and hello everyone from wherever you're joining the meeting. So leadership is usually about other people. As that's how we deal with it a lot of the time. We want to focus on, getting people to do certain things so that we can achieve a particular goal. But at the end of the day, self-leadership takes that focus away from other people and saying, look, let the focus be on myself. So I would simply summarize self-leadership as taking the time and effort to being the kind of person you actually want others to be, the kind of person you are trying to drive others to be. That's what I would say. I think, like Toastmaster Harry said, it's self-explanatory, so I don't have too much to say about that.
All right, thank you so much, Toastmaster Tosin. So trying to make other people to be, or make yourself be the kind of thing that you want other people to be. So driving yourself to be that kind of person. Thank you so much. And let's get back to Chooks, and this is just for us to set the tone for today, for just to define self-leadership. Toastmaster Chooks, if you're settled, what does self-leadership mean to you? We've heard Toastmaster Tari, we've heard Toastmaster Tosin. What does self-leadership mean to you?
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Uche, once again, and my great co-panelists, Toastmasters Tari and Toastmasters Tosin. You said if I'm settled, don't worry. The vicissitudes of Nigeria, leaving an indelible mark on my day and making sure that I'm not going to be settled for this meeting, but the country's plans will not work. What self-leadership means to me is, at its very height, a complete understanding of oneself, who I am, what I am able to do, and what I want to and can achieve. So in simple terms, that's how I describe it. And you see, I'm intentional about saying what self-leadership is about who I am. So who the individual is as a person, what the ability of the individual is, so what I can do, and a clear understanding also of where I want to go to in life. And in life might not be as broad as that sounds, but it's in terms of where I want to go to with either specific goals or broad life goals. So yeah, understanding oneself completely and where one is headed. I will leave it at that for now, and back to you, Toastmaster. Okay.
All right, thank you so much for putting this in perspective. And I'll just summarize by saying, even though you brought up a few of some things out here. So who, what, and the things you want and where. So who, what, and where. Who I am, what I can do, what I want to do, and where I would like to go to. Toastmasters and guests, our panelists have set the stage for our conversation today. But when I think about it, when I hear self-leadership, I somewhat feel what comes to my mind is where someone has a split personality. There is one part of you that is standing, another part of you that is telling the other part to follow. So how can we then differentiate between leadership, and I'd like this question to go to Toastmaster. Toastmaster Tosin, if you heard me.
All right. So I did catch that. And it towards the end, so I think I got the gist of what you were saying generally. So like I said earlier, self-leadership is taking that focus and turning it inwards, turning it to ourselves. So as a leader, usually you want to rally people around to achieve a common goal. Now, that being said, I think there's something particularly I would like to highlight about self-leadership, and that's the fact that it can actually be trickier than actual or mainstream leadership, so to speak. And the reason is, usually we are more objective when it comes to dealing with other people and less objective with ourselves. If other people do something wrong, it's very easy for us to say, oh, this is what you did wrong. You shouldn't have done this, and blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to us, we want to make excuses for ourselves. That's even if we recognize those errors in the first place. So I think it takes, a lot of honesty. It takes a lot of thoroughness, self-reflection to actually be a self-leader, so to speak. But as just a leader, that's without taking any focus to self-leadership particularly, you might even forget to think about how you are even reflecting to other people. You might forget that your actions actually influence other people. So I think the highlight in self-leadership is, what am I doing? How are my actions influencing people? It's not just about telling people or giving people instructions now. It's actually about influencing them by what you're doing, by who you are.
Thank you for providing us those insights. It almost sounds like you're saying practice what you preach. Practice what you preach. So like you said, people are objective. They can write KPIs for other people, but do they write KPIs for themselves? So thank you for bringing that to light. Toastmaster Tari, Tosin has tried to explain to us that slight, that difference between leadership and self-leadership. It almost sounds to me like self-leadership should come first. You should know how to lead yourself first before you even begin to lead others, so that you can practice what you preach. What are the differences between leadership and self-leadership in your opinion?
Well, in our minds, it may sound that way, like you need to master yourself first before you turn on other people to lead them. But just like Toastmaster Tosin has mentioned, I think it's a bit easier actually to lead other people than to lead self. That's because now this is you with your goals in front of you. You've set the goals yourself. You've set the timelines yourself. You can easily break those timelines and nothing will happen. You set it yourself, you can break it yourself. You're not accountable to anyone. That's a little bit more difficult than when you're leading others. So you're leading others and you set timelines and KPIs and all whatnot, and you're able to measure as they go along and encourage them and coax them and reward them. You're able to do those things outside of yourself. But when it comes to yourself, that's a totally different ballgame. You really need to be disciplined. You really need to be focused. And like Toastmaster Tosin mentioned, you really need to be honest with yourself when it comes to self-leadership. So in as much as you want to influence thoughts and actions to achieve a goal with other people, which is a general leadership, you also want to influence your own thoughts and actions to actually meet your own personal goals, knowing that you are accountable to yourself and no one else, knowing that you can break your own rules and nobody else has to know. That's the tricky part of self-leadership, I think. So I think that's just the difference. Dealing with yourself and actually sticking to what you have set out to achieve, and then dealing with others and actually ensuring that they achieve what they set out to achieve, or what you all set out to achieve.
Thank you so much, the delectable Toastmaster Tari. So you've mentioned a few things: self-accountability, discipline, focus, honesty. Toastmaster Chooks, what would you then say are the benefits of self-leadership? What are the benefits of self-leadership, especially in the post-pandemic world that we hope to get into?
Thank you, Toastmaster Uche. I like the way you've couched that the post-pandemic world that we hope to get into. Really looking forward to that entirely. But then it leads me to even what was already on my mind when you started off talking about the great things that Toastmasters Tari and Tosin have already mentioned, influencing and a host of others, accountability, really, really strong skills when it comes to self-leadership. But then maybe the one I would spend the next few moments on is the concept of self-awareness. And I think that this is arguably one of the biggest parts of self-leadership. And it has played out to a very large extent in the way we've managed ourselves through the pandemic so far. And it's still playing out today. I will take a few examples even from my own self and how just the leaders around us. I mean, we are leaders in some respects, and obviously we work with other leaders in other respects. That's the beauty of life. Yeah, someone's leader somewhere, but you're following someone else somewhere. It's just the dynamics of life. I remember at the very beginning of the pandemic, sometime last year, we had been from would call me up or buzz me up, send me, I checked on you at 7:15 and you were not online. What's the matter? Why are you not working? And I used to be like, seriously, the world is going to blazes and you're wondering where I am at 7:15. So the absolute lack of self-awareness then was unbelievable. And because we all grow as leaders, obviously it's our responsibility also to make these things known to other people. So over time, we got to talk to him, got to make him understand that you do not come to chat us up when we are there working at 8 p.m. So don't do that at 7:15 a.m. So it starts from that, the ability to just be aware that times are changing and people are in peculiar positions per time. People's situations are dynamic, they're never static. So today, somebody is all up there, energy at the 100 level, 100% rather. That person can go to the high mountains to do anything for you. But the next couple of days, the person might be experiencing some low moments. So it's that ability to remain self-aware because you understand what you are going through as an individual in the pandemic, post-pandemic world, whichever the case is, you are able to put yourself, we are able to put ourselves rather in other people's shoes and act from that understanding. So that's just the addition, that lovely concept of self-awareness that helps us drive empathy in how we lead and we work with other people. That's the other thing I would lay out on what we've heard so far. Thanks, and back to you, Toastmaster.
All right, thank you so much, Toastmaster Chooks, and really big nuggets there, and a really big word, used in many places, but right now you've used it in the concept of self-leadership, and that is empathy. You also made sure that you tried to explain to us that self-awareness is one of the biggest things that we need to take, and every leader has a leader. We'll just pause for a moment and go over to the chat box. Toastmasters and guests, you can use the chat box to type in whatever you want to type in, make comments, ask questions, use the emojis or emoticons. You can give us reactions. I'll just take a few comments or one comment here from the chat box. Toastmaster Equity James, the timer for today, says self-leadership is a concept deeper than I imagined. This session is opening up my eyes to different perspectives. That's one comment from Toastmaster Joy. And I think she also posted something earlier when she said she's excited about this segment and it's one of her favorite quotes when I quoted something earlier. All right, thank you so much for your contribution so far. We'll then go over to a few more questions before we then open up the floor for folks around the call to ask your questions. Toastmaster Sylvester, we can see your hand up. Just you can jot down that question and please hold that thought. Don't forget it, so that when we come back to you, you'll be able to give us that question. All right, I'll go over to Toastmaster Tosin. A quick question for you. So we've heard a lot about self-leadership, and we've taken time to tell us some of the things that the qualities of a self-leader. We'll be able to also explain some of the benefits, but I would like you to just tell us how we can improve self-leadership. How can we cultivate and improve self-leadership in these times? Toastmaster Tosin.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Uche. So for me, I think there are basically 4 pillars of self-leadership. And I think anyone who really wants to master self-leadership really needs to be able to master these areas. And I think they are self-discovery, self-acceptance, self-management, and self-growth. And when we talk about self-discovery, what we are saying in essence is you need to know who you are. And I think Toastmaster Chooks and even Toastmaster Tari touched on that already. You need to know who you are. You need to know what your values are. What are the things that make you tick? When we talk about self-acceptance, we're talking about owning your flaws and your strengths. How many leaders do we see today who want to take credit for, things going smoothly, but will not admit that they actually have flaws, will not even take feedback? And then we have self-management, just the ability to actually maintain a delicate balance of your most important resources. And what are these resources? Really, it's your time and your energy. If you can't manage your own time and energy effectively, then you're not going to be of any use to any other person. And finally, self-growth. You need to be honest, like we said earlier. Where's there room for improvement? And are you even disciplined enough to implement what you need to do to actually become better? I think if you can master those 4 things, self-discovery, self-acceptance, self-management, and self-growth, you're on a very good path, self-leadership.
Really so deep there: self-discovery, self-management, self-growth, and self-acceptance. Yeah, I think those are really deep, and I'm sure if people may have taken notes now. Toastmaster Tari, do you have anything to add to that? How can I develop, or how can anyone here on the call develop self-leadership? Toastmaster Tosin has given us this 4 nuggets. Do you have anything to add to that?
So I think he brilliantly summarized, everything we should know about developing self-leadership in those 4 points, actually. What I would like to add would be in the form of self-discovery. I think it's always very important for leaders to actually know their personalities. I don't know if anyone has mentioned it yet. Know your personality type, because it goes a long way in knowing how to deal with yourself and how to also relate with others. Leadership isn't just about dealing with yourself all the time. You still need to interact and communicate with other people. So if you're sanguine and you're always happy-go-lucky and you're always, here and there and all of that, how does that tie to the goal you want to achieve at the end of the day? Is there something that needs to go, or something that needs to give for you to actually become the person you want to be? So I think that's an actual one. So there are many personality tests online. You can actually Google and click on one and do one. It's actually a good thing to know what sort of personality you have, and then you'll be able to build on that and become a better person. Another thing he mentioned was, of course, self-management. I mean, if you are a self-leader, you're going to lead yourself. I think it's always the best to actually make use of tools that are available around you. There are apps that could help you plan your day, calendars, things that will help you keep focused to that thing you want to achieve. The truth is that you won't always have the energy, the motivation, the strength, or the willpower to actually go that next step, the step that will help you achieve your goals. You won't always have that. There are some moments you'll feel down, there are some moments you'll feel demotivated. But when you have something set that you can actually view, be it a chart you put on your fridge or something on your wall, or using an app to remind yourself of the next thing you need to do to achieve that goal, it goes a long way in helping. So make use of apps, make use of modern technology, and that should help as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Toastmaster Tari, for beautifully explaining this to us and adding some extra nuggets to what Toastmaster Tosin had said. Because we have very limited time, I'd just like for us to just wrap this up really nicely, and this is me asking if you have any last words for the audience. I'll start with that. If you have any last words for the audience, and really if you have any way you can tell us how how self-leadership has impacted your life. So tell us if there's any way self-leadership has impacted your life, and then you give us some last words for the audience. Toastmaster Tari, I'll start with you.
Okay, so self-leadership, I'd like to say, is a never-ending journey. Nobody gets to the end of the road except you're dead anyway. But if you're alive, then self-leadership should be a continuous thing. It should be, you should look to improving yourself day by day, month by month, year by year. For me, what self-leadership has done is has actually improved my focus, a bit more focused and discipline, especially when you know you have set goals and you really don't want to let yourself down. Focus, discipline comes into play. Another thing it has helped me with would be showing empathy. So if I know that I had a rough time actually achieving a particular task, then when I see someone else outside of me, my organization struggling, then I should give that person the same form of patience or empathy that I also had given myself. So I think empathy, yes, focus and discipline, those two. Back to you.
Thank you. That's how it's affected your life. Focus, empathy, and discipline. And those are your last words, really. Toastmaster Tosin, how has self-leadership impacted your life? And then just give us your last words that will wrap this up.
So Toastmaster Tari took the empathy right out of my mouth. So I shared that with her exactly as she said it. But what I'll include is responsibility. It's easy, especially when you have someone higher up there, or even if you are the one higher up there by yourself, to point at people to say, oh, this didn't work out because this person didn't do this didn't work out because of that person and that person. But self-leadership has taught me, honestly, it starts with you. Like, you need to take responsibility. What could you have done better as a person, as a leader, even as a follower, to have made sure that the goals were achieved, regardless of the challenges that were faced? And when it comes to living us with something, I would say it's cliche, but honestly, the change starts with you. And I know change has this connotation for about 6-7 years now. I could not find a better word to use, but really, it does start with you. And honestly, your actions just speak louder than your words. So if you want to see a change in other people, if you want to see certain qualities in other people, start to do that. By the time you reflect it on them, and they will also start to imbibe it without you even having to put in so much effort. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Tosin. Change indeed starts with you. And our final speaker, who is indeed now settled, Toastmaster Chooks. How has it affected, how has self-leadership affected your life? And what are your final words? If you can do that in 1 minute, we'll be glad.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. This has been enlightening. And I have thoroughly learned from all I've heard, even not just far less from what I have said, how it has impacted my life. Self-leadership makes my life easier in simple things. It's unbelievable how the little things make such a big difference. Toastmaster Tari talked a lot about tools and using those tools for our self-leadership. It's unbelievable how having a simple to-do list for the week can transform how your week goes. The weeks that I don't have a simple list here, I get headaches by Tuesday, Wednesday, because I'm packing everything that I'm supposed to do in my head. But just by putting pen to paper, little productivity tools that are not even apps, they are paper and biro, makes a difference. And I want to end on the note that let's take this home. Let it start from us. I think that's one message that we are driving, is that it starts from us. A simple thing like creating a meal timetable is self-leadership in our homes or for your own personal life, right? Because that saves us time. The time it takes you to decide, oh, today, I'll eat. I ate rice yesterday. I ate about the day before yesterday. What will I eat today? All that time wastage, that emotional heartache that you could use for better things down the line, you solve that by little things like schedules, like build, get nothing else. Take away what Toastmaster Tari has said. A big part of self-leadership in the 21st century is productivity tools. And those tools do not all have to be digital. It can be simple papers like the one in my hand now. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. You would agree with me, Toastmaster and guests, that this has been a really wonderful session. Toastmaster Tosin, one of our panelists, has said you can save your energy by just eating rice every day, so you don't need to plan. That reminds me of how they select the clothes for the president of the United States of America. If you watch, they wear the same type of clothes almost every time. It's not they don't go through decision fatigue. They just keep wearing same thing, and they don't have to think, what should I wear today? So plan your meals, plan the clothes you wear. Thank you so much. Toastmaster Tari has told us about technology, the techie lady here, and how it can help us to be better self-leaders. Tosin has said the change starts with you. This has been a great session. I'll just go over to our chat box. And okay, first of all, I'd like to call Sylvester Oko, or I can't remember, Sylvester Ikbo, to ask his question. He had his hand raised a while ago. This is a question and answer session, so you can unmute and ask your question. Toastmaster Sylvester.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, and I want to really give kudos to the members of the panel. It has been a wonderful section, a very insightful one indeed. I must confess that I have not regretted maybe pausing what I was doing to attend to this session. I have learned a lot. In fact, when they started, I couldn't really differentiate the difference between leadership and the term self-leadership. But yeah, but after I listened to them, I was happy with myself. I was happy with myself. Mine is just an observation and contribution. I noticed that, or before I go into that, I want to say that Toastmaster Tari, if I have not done a mistake, if I have, please, I should be forgiven. She said that between self-leadership and the term leadership itself, that self-leadership comes first. I guess she said so. Personally, I would think that if you have self-leadership, you're a leader already. I want to look at it from the light of Nigerian society, because that is one area they did not really emphasize. I believe that each time we tackle issues like this, we should nail it on Nigeria, because when it comes to leadership, we are really lacking in that area. What we have are just leadership by position, and that word self-leadership is not really there. So when it comes, please, I just believe with Nigerian should be used as a case study, so that we that are aspiring to be leaders and other young members of the group will learn from that. Having said that, I want to acknowledge again that it was an insightful one. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Sylvester Ikbo. As we heard clearly, he's saying that we should find a way to relate this to Nigeria as a whole. And I would just like any of the panelists to just maybe unmute out, maybe take this. Toastmaster Tari, he mentioned your name, so maybe we'll start with you if you have a comment. How do you relate this to our country? Yeah.
So what I did say was, of course, thinking about it in our head, we should be able to lead ourselves first before trying to lead other people. And of course, as Nigerians, we already know the ills we have in our society. We know the things that are already wrong in our society. And I think it just boils down to the fact that people are no longer have the conscience actually to do what is right. And I think that conscience, if it's alive in you, if your conscience is actually alive and working, you would learn to do things right. You know, and leading yourself, of course, is a big part of leading others. For instance, you're driving along traffic, you have eaten banana in your car, and then you wind down and you throw the pill out on the road. Come on. And you know that you're already battling so much refuse, at least in the city of Port Harcourt. How do you lead yourself in that aspect? You've eaten the banana, leave it in your car until you get to the next bin, or you get to your house, and then you dispose of it. That's one way. So if everyone practices that in their own corners, then imagine how Port Harcourt City would be. Imagine how Nigeria would be. And so I quite understand, and I agree with Sylvester, that yes, leading yourself is akin to actually being a Nigerian, be a patriotic Nigerian by doing the things that are right, and then ultimately we'll have a better society to live in.
Thank you. If everyone does what is right, we'll have a better society to live in. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Tari, for bringing in that, for being able to answer that question. We'll just take one more from the chat box and we'll call it a day. The question here from Toastmaster Equity James, I would like to direct this to Toastmaster Chooks, is where do we draw the line with empathy? Considering that in our world today, people are more selfish than ever, always looking for avenues to take advantage of kindness. Toastmaster Chooks.
I think the kind of question you should have given Toastmaster Tosin. It's not me.
You mentioned empathy, and that's why.
So it's really tough. Toastmaster Equity, it's really tough. It's really tough, and that's why you use the word boundary, and it will be difficult to have that thing in reality, to have a boundary. It's almost like that proverbial story between one of the great leaders or greatest leader ever being asked, oh, how many times do I forgive the person who does something wrong against me? Should I forgive him only 7 times? And he goes on to say, no, forgive him 70 times 7. And people argue all sorts about, oh yes, it has to be 490 times. So you go counting and you're at 467 as we speak. So watch it. Yeah, almost close to 490. But no, so there are no hard and fast rules to that. That's what I tell that story to pull out. There are no hard and fast rules to it. There are no clear boundaries. It's not like semi-border that says this is where you have crossed from Nigeria into Benin or Togo or something. But I'll come back to what I touched on a bit and said self-awareness.
I don't know if it's just me, but I think.
So if you are looking for any boundary, even though. Oh, sorry, you must have
you're
missed
back
me
on now.
Okay, sorry. So if you take anything, my thoughts on that will be that if it comes back to self-awareness. So if you put yourself in the other person's shoes and know that if they reverse roles, you would know that, oh no, yes, we've tried here. We've gotten to our limits here. I think that's your boundary, and that boundary will be different for different people.
Yeah, so no hard and fast rules. Boundaries will be different for different people. Thank you so much, my panelists or our panelists, Toastmaster Tari, Toastmaster Tosin, Oloroleke, and Toastmaster Chooks Wabweze. Time has caught up with us, and this brings us to the end of our panel discussion. But first, a recap of some of the things that we've heard today. Self-leadership was defined as being intentional about influencing yourself to achieve your goals. We also heard where one of our panelists said is being kind, the kind of person you drive others to be. Very remarkably there, one of our speakers also said it is knowing who you are or who I am, what I can do, and where I want to go to, So that's the definition of how what self-leadership is. A lot of words that came out of this, and I think that we need to take them. People are more objective. We deal with others and give excuses for themselves. So you need to practice what you preach. Self-leadership requires discipline, focus, and honesty, and also self-accountability, self-awareness, which was described by one of our panelists as something which is one of the biggest. How you can improve your self-leadership is by learning or doing self-discovery, being able to find yourself, self-management, being able to maintain the balance between time and energy. Self-growth is where you're able to look for the rooms for improvement and be deliberate and intentional about growing there. And self-acceptance is where you own your flaws. Toastmaster Tari also talked about knowing your personality type. So finding your personality types, and then she linked it very nicely to self-acceptance so that you own those flaws and you're able to do something about it. Thank you so much, our panelists, for taking time to give us these nuggets and tell us about self-leadership and leadership, from the beginning. I would say that this has taken us to the end, and I'm sure that you've gained so much. I urge you to take these nuggets and use them in your life. And better still, teach someone. Remember, the journey of leadership begins with self. Toastmaster of the day, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Toastmaster Uche. If we do not mind, please unmute and let's put our hands together. This was a wonderful session. My mouth is dry, but it was well worth it. So thank you very much, Toastmaster Uche, for putting this nicely together. We are at 5:37 and we will go straight to the evaluations, which is the next part of this meeting. If you're joining us for the first time, this is the session where we get feedback about everything that has happened in this meeting, whether we kept to time, whether the speeches were at par of what it should be. Everything about the meeting will be talked about in this session. So you do not want to leave at this time. Please stay back and keep your ears to your speakers, and let's hear what our evaluators and our general evaluator have to say in this session. So I'm going to quickly hand over this session to our general evaluator for today, none other than Toastmaster Folu, to take on the segments. Over to you, Toastmaster Folu.
All right, thank you very much, Toastmaster of the day, Toastmaster Tari. Very quickly, we would go on with the reports, and then at the end of which I would give my general evaluation. First off, I'd like to call on the timer, who happens to be double hatting. She's also the table topics evaluator, and that will be Toastmaster Ekuchi. Over to you. Please give us your report.
Thank you very much, General Evaluator. Please confirm that you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Apologies that I sound this low, I'm a bit under the weather. Okay, so I'll go straight into the timer reports. It is my pleasure to announce that every table topic speaker was within their time, which is something that I would say is very impressive to see. We've really grown, we've really improved in our mastery of table topics. I'm so impressed. And the next segment, today we didn't have any manual speeches, it was table topics and then the panel session. Panel session was to run for 40 minutes and it's happened for, at the nick of time, 40 minutes and 10 seconds. So I'd say that we did well with that. This meeting has been an indelible meeting. It's not an accident that the word of the day is indelible, because every single thing from start to finish has been something that we'll remember for a while. If, with the permission of General Evaluator, please, I'd like to know if I can just take the table topics evaluation at once.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Okay, great. So quickly, I'll just say that I love the twist in how Toastmaster Peace handled this segment. Well done, Toastmaster Peace. So it's very enjoyable. I didn't want it to end, but we knew that we had to stop to start the panel session. It was good. Although I would say that I wish it didn't have too much back and forth with introductions, and with the speakers, we had some back and forth here and there, and that took some time, which I feel could be avoided next time. Maybe the questions should be a bit more direct and understandable by the speakers involved. All in all, it was a great segment. And I encourage us to volunteer. I think one of the things that took time as well was the fact that she kept trying to beg for volunteers. So please, it's not such a big deal to do it. Just whatever you have, please go for it. First speaker was Toastmaster Bridget. Her question was about the movie Ukwa, which is a classic, in my opinion. It's one of the old Nigerian movies that I truly enjoyed watching. So I would say that I love that she had a loud and confident voice. She also showed great knowledge about the movie. I didn't think that she would, explain the scene, that particular scene that Toastmaster Peace asked her for. I didn't know she would explain it in such detail. She analyzed both sides. There was a message. She talked about manners. She talked about how to approach people. So I think it was good that she explained the movie to us and at the same time dropped a message for us to go back home with. Next speaker was Toastmaster Chooks. He was asked about, his question was quite loaded, but what I picked out of it was that he was asked if he wanted to have more kids. Please, if you're not speaking, can you mute?
Right.
Okay. To be distracted. Okay. So Toastmaster Chooks said, I like that he incorporated some humor. He said no with 3 exclamation marks. So my older sister has triplets. I think she shares your same sentiment. She would say no with 5 exclamation marks. So I like that your video was on, irrespective of the fact that you were not in a very conducive place. You made an effort to turn on your video. I like that you referenced statistics. That was a very nice, very informative. You said half of our population are under 21. I didn't know that before now. So thank you for that. And you used a very relatable story, the Almajiris in the north and starving children, very detailed and you made us understand what exactly we're talking about. You just drew us in with that. So thank you for that. Next person was Toastmaster Sylvester. He talked about his favorite time of the year, although he was having network glitches at first, but I like his persistence. He kept going on. He wanted to speak. You could tell that he really wanted to speak. He introduced himself as well, repeated the question. I liked that his tone was confident. He told a personal story about why he likes Christmas and that he liked interaction with people, and also told us why he had joined Toastmasters. I think that was very beautiful. I smiled at that. It's good to know that Toastmasters is something that someone has a special interest to join. He carried us along in his speech. Final speaker was Toastmaster Osinachi. Her question was about what she would love to learn, but doesn't have time to. I like that she repeated the question. It always helps to put you in the right frame to start. She gave us a history of what braids are about. She talked about, I didn't expect her to use that example, so that was quite surprising in a good way. She also incorporated some humor when she said her poor daughter was her muse, and I'm just imagining how many nights of headache her daughter has had. So I liked that she also had a soothing voice and she had a good closing. What I think she would have done better is, I wish she gave us a bit more details, told us the challenges she's faced so far while trying to learn, how she plans to manage time. Maybe she should have told us where she's at now, the levels of, knowledge she has now, and where she intends to go at what particular time or in what particular time. That would have been nice to give us an idea of what she's really dealing with. All in all, it was an amazing session. I loved it. And I'm looking forward to the next meeting and what our table topic segment would be. Thank you, and back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Ekuchi, for that report, 2 in 1. We will now move on very swiftly to the R counter, and that would be Toastmaster Nnamdi. Over to you, please.
Good evening, Toastmasters. Thanks, Toastmaster Fulu. So I'll quickly run through the R counter report. We had Chooks with the highest number of post fillers. We had 4. And we had about 5 people with post fillers, 2 numbers of post fillers. We had Sylvester, Bridget, Peace, Osinachi, and Dr. Ntia. And we had Uche with 1 post filler. So the highest record of post fillers goes to Choose, and second goes to the 5 people mentioned, and Uche comes third. For who said what, I will just quickly run through some statements, and then you tell me who said what. Do not be ashamed of your scars. Who said that?
Toastmaster Uche.
Very correct. You have arguably the youngest population in the world.
Toastmaster Chooks.
Correct. You can't lead people if you can't lead yourself.
Toastmaster Uche.
Very correct. Being intentional about the way you feel. Being intentional about the way you feel.
Toastmaster Tari.
Very correct. And finally, indelible.
Everybody.
Everybody.
All right, thanks. That will be all from me.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Nnamdi. Just curious though, is there a difference between correct and very correct? Anyways, that's a rhetorical question. Moving on, we would now take the reports from the grammarian, and that is Toastmaster Fumi. Over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Fulu. Good evening once again, everyone. I'm afraid my report may not be as encouraging or as bright as that of Toastmaster James, because I've got a lot of issues here. Right, so the word indelible, the word for the day, I think that it was used less than 6 times altogether, which is not the best. So I'm quite surprised that somebody said that everybody used the word indelible. I don't think so, unless I had audio issues. So please, let's try to incorporate that more in our daily language. For instance, I know that the session that we had with TM Craig last week had made an indelible impression on me, just like this meeting has also left its own indelible mark on me. So now today, what we had mostly was cultural accents. I don't know whether there's any English word like that, but that's the best I can describe the experience of today. We had a lot of cultural accents, we had ask instead of ask. We had a lot of things like predicament, follow, challenge, categorical. And I'm sure that TM Craig must probably have been cringing, in his seat, but he just has to forgive us, and he has to understand that we're work in progress, and we would all register at his communication clinic at some point, I'm sure. So we also have things like little instead of a single little. Nigerians are very known for duplicating whatever they want to say. How much is this? 10 naira. It's only 10 naira. Little ideas. It's just little idea, So please, let's pay attention. All in all, it's been a very wonderful session, and I'm looking out for the next meeting where we'll be able to use the word of the day better. Thank you. Over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Fumi. That was really funny. The one about Nigerians using double, like what, puff puff, tom tom, kom kom, and funny things like that. I wouldn't go beyond that. Fill in the gaps.
Short Nika.
All right, thanks a lot for that. Now we move on to the next report, and that would be the panel session evaluation. And then I'll call on Toastmaster Ntia to do us the honors. Toastmaster Ntia, over to you.
Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. Once again, thank you very much, the General Evaluator. I'm just going to use the next, I think it's usually 3 minutes, so I don't know if it's 3 or 5 in this context, to sort of give some bit of feedback, in this dessert segment of this meeting. And what we have gone is about ocean of self-leadership was basically the theme of the panel, and that's gone well. The requirements were very clear, and the requirement was that this Toastmaster Uche, in this context, in this activity, will leave an indelible mark on all the listeners, including the panelists. And I think that will be answered over time. The key thing for this is, the first thing I want to do is commend the energy and time and planning, as I put in the sheet I've emailed to him just now. The time and energy and planning was very obvious in the way that the session sort of rolled out. And what you then see is that he'd gone on way before time. This was scheduled for 3 weeks prior. And even before then, he'd been planned, he'd put out a script, communicated with the panelists, selected them appropriately. And that was crucial in getting that smooth sort of unrolling or execution of the panel session. So that was really good, top marks for that. And then you go forward also in the choice of theme and context or subject matter, something that was relatable to every member of the audience, while still not necessarily being the most common perspective of that same subject matter. And then if you go forward from that to go and look at that capacity for the audience themselves to connect with the panelists, and the panelists to have the right kind of content, the right kind of insights, varying as it may seem across all 3, but then similar indeed as in a continuum in that expression of that depth and content of self-leadership. And that was the journey to leaving that indelible mark on the audience, and we're very well done. When I come forward to then look at how the balance and spread of airtime across speakers, which is usually a challenge in moderating panel sessions, I thought that was really decently done, moving around from one speaker to the other, giving them reasonably similar amount of airtime so no one feels a bit slighted, and then directing questions appropriately to each speaker was very, 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 very well done. So Professor Uche, well done. What I thought I really liked a little bit less was the fact that at some point, and this is something that I think previously we talked about, making sure you don't get hemmed in by time. Virtually every panel session has that common struggle to be able to involve the audience sufficiently and still stay within the time allotted. And that comes with making sure your speakers keep their responses within a particular time band, and then also including the audience, but also ensuring that the audience also keeps their responses and questions to a particular time band. I'm more in favor of audience meeting and speaking. And I think that's a really good way to keep it live and give that real panel feel. You almost feel like you're in the hall with them. But that has to be managed so that you don't also overrun for time and people don't digress from the key issues at hand. In all, I would say again, I think I really liked your organization. I liked the plan that went into this. I've given you the scores that you will see in the evaluation that I've sent back to you. And I also think that it was also good the way you summarized in the interregnum. So in between speakers, in between sections, in between questions, you took the panelists' words and sort of made them simple and summarized them and spat back to the audience. And I think that was really decent in how people could go home with nuggets from that patient. So this is very well done. And I kid you not, if you think it's an easy thing to do to moderate panel sessions, just try one unprepared and you would know how embarrassing it can be being on the spot. Toastmaster Uche, very well done. Top marks to you for an excellent panel session, very well moderated. And to the panelists, excellent one. And to the audience, very well for all of the commitment and how involved you all were in that panel session. Hopefully, it's not a mark as indelible as what is left on me. And hopefully we see more of these panel sessions as a way of communicating through speakers, to audiences and really getting the right kind of message across and giving us deeper insights into things we are either reasonably familiar with or familiar. Well done, excellent, and thank you. Back to you, General Evaluator. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Antia, for that very rich evaluation. We expected nothing less. Great stuff. So very quickly, I would now proceed with my own reports. I'd like to first speak about the aspect before the meeting, the evaluation pre-meeting, if you like. I'm sure you would agree with me that the publicity was very well done. It was right in our faces, week by week, day by day. That was really great. And that clearly accounts for the attendance. I know a few people may have dropped off, but that clearly shows up in the attendance that we have today. Impressive. Pre-meeting still, I must say that the Toastmaster of the day definitely prepared thoroughly. She reached out to the role players, assigned roles, and kept prompting and ensured that every role player, well, almost every, showed up early for the meeting. Now, showing up early for the meeting or logging in before the actual start time is akin to get into the venue ahead of the meeting so that you ensure that everything is working, your gadgets or the visuals, the venue is clean and all of that. So that was very well done. And we started the meeting right on time, 4:15 on the dot. The meeting went live by the SSA himself. Guests were welcome. Now I'm proceeding to the next phase, which is the meeting proper. Guests were welcomed, and I like the way the Toastmaster of the day intermittently and repeatedly welcomed guests and sort of did a bit of a reset just to let them know, irrespective of the time people joined in, just to let them know at what point we were and what exactly was expected of them. That was really good. The theme of the meeting, 2021, an indelible year, I would say was definitely apt. And the agenda was shared early ahead of time. That was really great. I believe the Toastmaster of the day shared it with every other role player. And at the start of the meeting, she put that up. So everyone pretty much knew how the meeting would flow. Onto the role players, introductions were done succinctly. Everyone knew what they were to do and they spelled out their roles clearly. Right. Now to the role players proper. For the timer who double-hatted as the table topics evaluator, I find that sometimes when people double-hat, it's a bit of a challenge because I didn't quite get the timer feel. I think your role weighed more on the table topics evaluation bit, but that must be because you were double-hatting. So my recommendation to the club would be to have, or to the Toastmaster of the day would be get a separate person for a separate role, so to speak. And then while the role players were introducing themselves, I heard quite a few people start with, "My name is." I do not think that is necessary. we already know names, and of course the Toastmaster of the day had already called out their names, so we could skip that bit as well. And I felt that videos could have been used as well. When some of the role players introduced themselves, we missed seeing their videos. Right, so I particularly like the way the role player, the table topics master, she didn't just introduce her role, but she also told us why that role was important. I thought that was really good. Moving on to the grammarian, I like that the word chosen definitely was appropriate and fitting for the theme. It was simple enough, so I'm not quite sure why it wasn't well used. The word of the day was clearly explained, the meaning and all of that. The grammarian played her role very well, even though at the start of it, she made us feel like we should manage our expectations. So, but well done, you did that well. Table topics evaluator, who also played the role of the table of the timer, I thought your evaluation was really rich. Well done. The R counter Toastmaster Nnamdi, I like the way you went about it, and you were short. You just went short and crisp, and we all got the message. That was great. Table topics master, I particularly like the nice twist you gave to it. You're known for your signature conversational style, your tone, your volume. It's always relaxed. You're always relaxed when you talk. It's almost like you're so familiar. I don't know, maybe you've been a broadcaster in the past. I don't know, but you just have that signature, chilled, comfortable, relaxed sort of look and feel once you're behind the camera. Well done. So the other thing I'll mention about what I felt regarding the table topics. Well, you started off with movies. At a point, I was like, okay, so I hope this is not all about movies, because you never know, not everyone is a movie buff, but I was quite glad at some point you touched on other things. What did I miss, though, in the table topics session? I felt that the theme, your topics or the questions could have synchronized better with the theme of the day or the theme of the month. Right. In a nutshell, I thoroughly enjoyed this meeting. What areas do I think could be improved upon? Applause. I felt that we could have done the applause bit a bit more. We waited for a prompt almost to applaud individuals. I know that the challenges of a virtual meeting, but I think the applause should be a bit more instantaneous. So the applause and then the use of videos by our speakers, role players, and so on. And then, of course, better use of the word of the day. In a nutshell, this has been an amazing meeting. I'm someone who pretty much loves panel sessions, talk shows, and those sort of things, because for me, I feel there's always that rich exchange of ideas. You know, the shared cognitive diversity is accelerating, I would say. So I thoroughly enjoyed the panel session, and I'm sure a lot of us got nuggets, because the speakers or the panelists just kept dropping gems almost with every word. In a nutshell, for the umpteenth time, I felt that this meeting was very well packaged, great facilitation, great transitions. I'm quite glad also that the mics were muted, so we didn't have disruptions with background noise and all of that. I would like to say that this meeting is sure to leave an indelible mark in our hearts. Truly enlightening session, truly informative. And thank you once again for the opportunity to be the general evaluator for this meeting. And I will now hand back to the Toastmaster of the day. Toastmaster Tyree, over to you.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Folu. Please, can we unmute and put our hands together? This applause must come out today. Please unmute and put your hands together. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Toastmaster Folu. We have come to the end of the meeting, but before we go, I will hand over this segment to Toastmaster Uche, our president, to give his closing remarks, welcome the first timers, and then hand back over to me, and then we can close. Over to you, Toastmaster Uche. I hope you're still on. Yes, you are. Over to you.
Yes, I am. I somehow I feel like you're in a hurry to just hand this over to me, because you've been speaking so much today. Thank you so much. Thank you, General Evaluator. Thank you, Panel Evaluator, for all of your wise words. And indeed, these are words of veterans from Pecten Toastmasters Club. I would like to welcome everyone who may be attending for the first time today.